Okay, sorry about that. We've had a couple of internet difficulties there. I'm sure everyone's had them before, but yeah, frustrating. They always happen at the wrong time, don't they? So we were lucky enough, as I was saying before the last live video cut out, was that we sent out some emails to our mailing list during the week. So it's a great way for us to contact you and for us to contact, for you to contact us as well. So if you're interested in joining our mailing site, go to hobbytobusiness.com.au and you'll get a little drop down box that says, enter your email address, and you can put it in, and we will make sure that we contact you every time we're going to do something like this, so that you know it's coming, and you can make sure that, if there is anything you want to ask, you can just email us in, and we'll make sure it get, in the course of that live session or the next live session, it'll get answered. So one of the first questions we were asked, and it's a very pertinent one, because it says, can I start this business part-time and still keep my 9 to 5? It's a really good question, because a lot of people, when you talk about turning your hobby into a business, they don't want to give up the job they do. They want a passive income on the side. So it's a very pertinent question, and one we get a lot. And the basic answer is that you can start you turn your hobby into a business part-time and still have your 9 to 5, because it's really all about how you structure it. There are so many free programs out there that you can use that will structure the way you answer, or people that contact you. It really is extremely simple to set up and have it set up on the side and not affect your career or any time with, let's call it your main focus of income. So really good question, but yeah, you can start it part-time very easily, very simply. It's probably the simplest setup in all honesty. It's probably the simplest setup. And even if you were going to have it as, look at scaling up to the point where, your hobby that you'd turn into a business was your primary source of income, well, that's the first step, is setting it up as a part-time passive income. That's the first step in the ladder on scaling up and making it happen. So yeah, short answer to that long answer I just gave you was, yes, you can start your business part-time. Okay, a really good question here is, how will I know that my hobby will be profitable? Okay, there's a couple of ways you can test your products in the market. Things like eBay and Gumtree are great for pre-selling items. So we've actually had one person come to us, and what he does, he builds trailers. He builds a multitude of different types of bespoke trailers for people, but generally what he does is he just makes a standard box trailer. Now, when he came to us, the issue he had was having the money there to make sure that he had stock sitting in his backyard, and that he had material there that when someone ordered. And basically what we said to him was that you don't need to do that at all. Okay, the pre-sell concept is that what you do is you put your product on an online platform, or whether that be Facebook, a Facebook group of some variety, eBay, Gumtree, and you sell that item, and someone pays for that item, and when they pay for it, that's when you produce the item. So when you produce that item, basically everything's paid for up front. So that's what the pre-sell concept is about, is that you pre-sell that product, someone buys it, and then you don't have to worry about income in, income out, because the item's paid for. So what you do then is you make sure that, straight out of that straight away, all your overheads, let's take this trailer for example. There's a certain amount of steel he's got to buy, there's consumables for welding rods and things like that, registration of the trailer, the lot, because that's what he does. He sells them ready to go. The person comes and they pick them up, they hook them up to the back of the vehicle, and they drive them off into the sunset. Done. Deal done. So that's our pre-selling concept, and that concept doesn't matter. Like the product you're applying to that pre-sell concept it doesn't matter whether it's a product, it doesn't matter whether it's a service. Like if you look at, for an example, what is, you know, a lot of people when you talk to them about what is a service and how do you pre-sell a service, well, what Hobby to Business does, what we do is a service, okay? It's a consultancy. We're teaching people things we know. That's a service. So it doesn't matter whether it's a service or whether it's a product, it's really irrelevant. You can pre-sell those things, okay? And if you pre-sell them, then you offset all the issues you have with getting money to make sure you've got a product or a service to sell. So it might just be that when, say, let's go back to the trailer example again, when someone orders that, you know, it's 4 weeks from when they order to when they pick up, okay? Or 4 weeks from when they pay to when they pick up. So that gives you 4 weeks to, you know, buy steel, fabricate the trailer, get the registrations done, the whole lot. So that's the pre-sell concept. Okay, and that really is a massive concept around low-cost setups. And I mean, at Hobby to Business, that's what we teach, is we teach how to do low-cost setups. Because anyone that wants to turn their hobby into a business, if you really want to scale it right, I mean, you can go out and you can throw money at anything. But there's so many people that just go out and throw money at anything, and really you're just throwing it away. You may as well go out into the street and you may as well get those $100 bills and just hand them out to the people that are walking past your house, because, you know, really this is the best way to do it, because what you're doing is you're also testing your product in your market. Let's take back again, we'll go back to the trailer example, okay? With that trailer or those types of trailers, you can actually test which trailers are going to sell for you. So say you had 5 different styles of trailers and you pre-sell them on eBay, and 3 of those types of trailers, you don't sell any, okay? What have you lost? If you pre-sell it, you've lost nothing. You've lost absolutely nothing. Not a cent have you lost if you pre-sell it. So you didn't have to have a couple sitting, you know, in the backyard ready to go. You didn't have to have anything ready to go because they didn't sell. Okay? But the 2 varieties that did sell, that's great, because when you took orders, you got into production and you sold the product and you made your profit. All right, so it really, that concept of pre-selling, it's amazing. It really is a great way to set up your hobby and make it. It's great to test products. It's great to make sure that you've got a business that people are interested in. It really is great for any aspect of business. And I mean, even we do some work with some established businesses as well, and you know, we even teach the pre-sell concept. I mean, look, what I've gone through today in the pre-sell concept is a really basic version of pre-sell, because there's a lot of different little things you can do to tweak pre-sell, and it really does, you've got to look at how you apply it to the product and the platform you're using and things like that. So what we teach when we teach pre-sell is a lot more detailed than what we're talking about today, but the concept is very basic. So, you know, great way. So I'll just reiterate again, back to that question, how will I know that my hobby is profitable? Okay, we use the pre-sell concept straight away. We apply that. So the third question we got was, what will I need to invest to start running my hobby into a business? I mean, and I've structured this question to be straight after the last question, because we run straight back to that concept we spoke about last time, which was pre-sell. Okay, realistically, you don't need anything. It doesn't cost you anything to set up a Facebook page. You can set up a website extremely cheap. Extremely cheap. You know, it's not hard to get onto Wix or those types of places and set up. All the tools are there to set up a website. But I mean, to be honest, most times, starting out, you don't need a website. You know, you don't need a website at all. All you do is set up on Facebook, okay? Easiest way to attract people, easiest way for people, you know, it's searchable, so people can look for groups, or, you know, set up your page, they can search for it. It all comes down to that concept of using Facebook means that your branding has to be right. Your branding has to be about what is the common or the trade language for what you do. So don't call it something like, think yourself, when you're looking for something in that arena or that area, what do you search? You know, what is one of the most common things that you search for that type of hobby? Because each hobby is its own subculture. And within subcultures, there are, you know, intrinsic languages. And I mean, it sounds very technical to talk about a hobby like that, but if you've ever gone to a hobby fair or something like that, or a you know, I don't know, let's say something that's fairly widely advertised is, you know, and it is a seminar, but Comic-Con, okay? I've never been there, but I know a couple of people who have gone, and they've said, wow, it's like walking into a different world. The language is different. People are talking about things totally differently, and sometimes you've just got no idea of what people are talking about. It's like going to talk to someone about a sport that you have nothing to do with, and they start talking about players and tactics and things of the like that of a sport you don't understand. It's like a totally different language, and that's what hobby subcultures are like. They, you know, it sounds funny, but they are, each hobby is its own subculture, and each of those subcultures have their own intrinsic language, terms and terminology that unless you're involved in it, you will not know what it is that people are talking about. So what you've really got to do is, when you think about, you know, I'll reiterate that question, what will I need to invest to start turning my hobby into a business? And where we've gone from that is really very little, because if you set up a Facebook page and build a demand for your product, then what we stepped onto then was the fact that your branding needs to be right. It needs to be something that in that realm or in that hobby subculture is something that people search for. So if, let's say, for example, you're in the field of horse saddlery, and I mean, I know nothing about horse saddlery except for a specific person that's a member of Hobby to Business that we help with their business and turning their business or their hobby into a business. Now, when he talks about you know, saddlery and things like that, he's talking about tack and tack rooms and things like that. And really, before I spoke to him about it, and before he explained to us what he does, if someone had have said that, I would not understand what they're talking about. But everyone in saddlery or horses understands what that is. And if you're selling, you know, a certain product, then it's got to fit into the terminology. Don't call your page something different if that is the terminology. Use the terminology of that hobby subculture to name your page, because that is what people will look for and will search for in search engines and the like. And you know, because really, you know, Facebook is a search engine for people to find different groups and things what they want. No, you know, no different to Google or anything like that. So make sure that the branding is correct to the terminology of the hobby that you're in, because that will get you the most amount of finds and searches and people looking at your page and getting interested in your product. Okay, a bit of a long answer to that one. I apologize for that, but it is very important, because it's no good if you're into trading. For example, there's one person that we deal with that's right into buying and reselling car parts, but specific car parts, cars of a certain era, particularly Holdens. So it's no good having, you know, John's Car Parts or whatever it may be if you're really, you know, John's HQ 19, you know, be as specific as you can. John's HQ Spares. Okay, so someone's after HQ Spares, they're going to put in HQ. So make sure the naming is specific. Okay, this next question, and you'll see the way we've structured the questions that have been sent into us so that it follows along into a bit of a path. You know, you'll notice the next question we talk about, the answer will be, you know, part of what the answer was for the one before. And we want it to flow a little bit like that so that it all runs together. But this one is, how can I make my business seen or myself seen? So realistically, it's about, on a basic sense, you can use at a very basic level, and what we teach people when they're first starting out is use Facebook. It is fantastic. Like, people are on Facebook all the time. It is probably one of the largest used social platforms. Facebook, Instagram, but I mean the easiest one that most people know is Facebook, so that's the one we talk about a lot. We do Instagram and Twitter ourselves, and we find those platforms, really good as well to get the message into a different arena. But I mean, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, if you were to sign up for those three things and use those to platform out straight away, and we call it platforming. So, you're going to attract different people, and what you need to do is you need to go and have a look in those platforms at people that are like-minded, that are in there doing the same thing you are, and you'll notice there might be people with a lot more followers than you. You need to link up, and you need to make contact with those people and work off the back of those people as well, because it helps them if you're in that hobby as well. So to make yourself seen, and particularly on the Hobby to Business website, what we do is we do a lot of stuff on marketing. So there's a lot of stuff on there about how to market your business. There's a lot of things on there about using social media and different platforms, and it really is, because each of those platforms, there's specific techniques to use to get seen. And I mean, they're basic techniques, but you don't know what you don't know. So it's, if you're using it without that knowledge, you can really, it's not just about putting something up all the time and being seen. It's about having engaging content, because you can have, say, on